Yeah. So whenever we start talking about the numbers and figures of things, again, part of the intention of retirement is that you can have money for the longevity of your life. And so to have money for the longevity of life, you start sourcing that income and start saying, I'm pulling money from that place. I'm pulling money from that place. And when we start talking about pulling money from places, there's two ways you can pay for retirement. You can get you can pull money from your guaranteed income streams, and we'll talk about what that means here in a second, your guaranteed income streams, or you can draw down your investment accounts. And we'll spend time talking about each of those. And so whenever we talk about guaranteed income streams, a lot of times, like everybody just heard a buzzword right then, guaranteed income streams. A lot of times that's where somebody across the table from you has been talking about an annuity for things. Annuities are interesting because whenever we say a guaranteed income stream, we're not talking about annuities. Whenever we're talking about guaranteed income streams, we're talking about like Social Security. We're talking about pension incomes,
Yep.
things like that. Normally, what we find whenever we talk about annuities, again, as part of this video is trying to pour gasoline on the scenario, and this part of it is trying to protect the scenario. Is a lot of times annuities are not beneficial in people's scenarios. The only person they're beneficial for is the person that sold it to you because they probably made a couple $1,000s off of a commission from selling that to you. And so anytime you sit across the table from somebody nearing into retirement and they start talking about guaranteed income streams and they start throwing out buzzwords of protecting your retirement and such like that, like your spidey senses should start tingling because that's where you're about to be sold something here. And so whenever we talk about drawing down from your retirement and just guaranteed income streams and such, we are talking about Social Security and we're talking about pension incomes. And so the last thing we'll say before we move on to that point is it's very interesting talking to people about nearing into retirement because, again, we talked about it. It's a stressful thing. It's a new thing. They spend all their life accumulating. Now they're at the point where they're going to start decumulating over their life. You've built probably the lion's share of your wealth in the market here. That has worked for you over the past 50 years of your life, probably. Why wouldn't it work for you the remaining 50 years of your life? Right. So that's a tangent point there. And so whenever we talk about guaranteed income, we're talking about Social Security and pension. And again, some of the tools you have at your disposal. Well, I'll say not everybody because you can actually elect out of it and such like that, depending on your job and such. But most everybody has Social Security as one of their tools in their tool belt. And with Social Security, it's very neat because you actually have some options with it. You actually get to say when you want to take your Social Security. And this is actually more powerful than a lot of people understand. And what I mean by that is you can take Social Security as early as possible or as late as possible. That boundary is age 62 to age 70, right? When you take it can impact the amount you'll end up getting per year
Yep.
or per month. And so as you take it sooner, you get a lower monthly amount. As you delay it, you get a bigger monthly amount. And this is really important. You can actually go see what your Social Security amount is going to be. You can go to ssa.gov, and that's basically the Social Security Administration, ssa.gov, and you can log in, create an account, such like that, and actually see your Social Security estimates and see the increase in benefits over time. When you should claim Social Security is very dependent on your unique scenario.
Right.
Working with people, I've recommended some people take it as soon as possible. I've recommended some people take it as late as possible, 70. I've had some people take it all the way in between, right? And again, it just depends on your unique scenario, your unique mix of assets, your unique retirement budget here. And so the wildest swings I've seen in people's scenarios from taking Social Security when somebody came to have the discussion, they were going to take Social Security once they retired. And I think they were retired from off the top of my head here at 65. What was very interesting about their scenario, we actually changed when they were going to claim Social Security on that timeline. And it ended up adding $300,000 to their scenario, that one decision for this. And it ended up, a big part of financial planning is the probability of success for the scenario. It added an 11% to their probability of success just by claiming Social Security at an appropriate time based off their unique scenario. So you want to talk about pouring gasoline on something here, like $350,000 and an additional 11% success rate. That is very meaningful. Social Security is a very important tool in people's tool belts. And the answer should not just be, I'm going to take it as soon as I can, right? The answer should be, I've done the math, and this is my math is telling me I should take it at this point.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the most common questions, Kevin, that we get asked is when should I take Social Security? And we would call that a simple, complex question,
Yes.
because it really does depend upon, are the decisions that you're making just for your life, or is there a spouse or significant other? And if there is somebody else in the picture, what tools do they have at their disposal? If they were a stay-at-home parent, maybe their Social Security isn't as large, but if they worked their entire life or they have access to other types of retirement resources, Social Security is not a one size fits all. And I think that there are people that are trying to figure out that value chart of when, like, does waiting really benefit versus taking it early? And it's not that simple. Through hours of projections, you need to be able to bake in, are you going to take it sooner than your spouse? Is your spouse going to take it first and you're going to wait? Did you have other means to help as you wait along the way? So Social Security, if you get it right, we cannot stress it is more than just going to SSA.gov and hitting a button just because you looked at a number and you liked it. There has to be more thought put into it. So if you are currently taking Social Security or know somebody is, there is no shame in it. But if you can get this piece right on top of some of the behavioral stuff, I think it can set you up. And we
Yes.
wanted to kind of talk about another tool that maybe not everybody has as an individual, but maybe a spouse has, depending upon their job. And that's really how pensions work, and down to pension selections and the choices. So, Kevin, when we're talking about pensions, maybe what's a framework that we want to leave people with?
Yeah. So whenever we talk about pensions, usually somebody retires, they get a one pager, two pager, three pager with just a list of options. They could choose a single life option, a joint life option. They could choose a single life with a 50% pop up, 75% pop up, 100% pop up. They could take out a whole lump sum of all this. There's a ton of options that people have, and all with different numbers beside them. And so it's very hard to say which one's better for this. And again, the answer lies in your unique projections, right? And so the framework that you should look at, and you actually, Steve, already said the framework talking about Social Security, is it's first, what assets do you have? Do you have enough assets to float you uh, over your lifetime? As in, like, or another piece of the framework is like, where are we at in the market cycle? Is the market really down right now? If that's the case, then we probably don't want to be pulling from the investment accounts. We might want the guaranteed income from the pension to help fund that so that our retirement accounts can come back up. Versus if we're at the very top of the market here, if things are overpriced in the market, that might be a time to do something different. Big piece of that, and you've brought up, Steve, already, the spouse. How you claim Social Security could direct, not Social Security, how you claim your pension could directly impact your spouse's future projections. In the sense of, like, if you choose the single life option on your pension and you have your pension for 1 year and then you pass away, your spouse isn't getting anything from then on. That could be very damaging to the spouse's financial future. And it was something that we didn't intend to happen.
Yeah.
And so we need to have eyes wide open about each one of these things. But again, Steve, like you said, you got to understand your resources. You got to understand what this money is going to do in your retirement projections for your retirement budget. And you got to understand how the different options impact you and your spouse for this. And that's the framework you got to think through is pension selections.